What you're about to hear is going to shake the wrestling world to its absolute core. Paul Heyman, the so-called special counsel, the man who claims to be a friend, a mentor, a brother to CM Punk, just admitted that he was the one who orchestrated the vicious attack that nearly ended Punk's career. I'm telling you right now, wrestling fans, you need to sit down for this because what I'm about to reveal is the most disgusting act of betrayal we have ever witnessed in professional wrestling history. And trust me, by the end of this video, you're going to be furious. Hello viewers, if you're new here, please don't forget to like and hit the subscribe button for daily updates on WWE Raw. The shocking confession. So here's what happened, and I want you to really let this sink in. Paul Heyman, the man who stood beside CM Punk during his triumphant return to WWE, the man who claimed to have Punk's back through thick and thin, the man who we all thought was one of the few people in that locker room that Punk could actually trust, just dropped a bombshell that has the entire wrestling community in absolute chaos. In a closed-door meeting that was leaked to us here at WrestleScope, Paul Heyman allegedly confessed to a small group of WWE executives that he was the mastermind behind the brutal backstage attack on CM Punk that took place months ago. You remember that attack, don't you? The one that left Punk bloodied, the one that had security footage mysteriously corrupted, the one that WWE swept under the rug faster than you can say, cover up. Now, let me paint you a picture of just how calculated this betrayal actually was. When CM Punk made his shocking return to WWE, everyone was celebrating. The Second City Saint was back, the pipe bomb prophet had returned home, and standing right there beside him, grinning from ear to ear, was Paul Heyman, the mentor, the friend, the man who'd discovered Punk in the bingo halls of the independent scene. But here's the thing that nobody was talking about at the time. While we were all caught up in the emotion and the nostalgia, Paul Heyman was playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers. He was already 10 steps ahead, plotting and scheming like the conniving manipulator he's always been. Think about it. Who had the most to gain from CM Punk being taken out of action? Who would benefit from Punk being sidelined right when he was about to reclaim his spot at the top of the WWE mountain? Paul Heyman. Because here's the reality that nobody wanted to acknowledge. With CM Punk back in WWE and aligned with Paul Heyman, where does that leave Roman Reigns? Where does that leave the Bloodline? Where does that leave Heyman's other golden goose? The special counsel found himself in a position where he had to choose, and when push came to shove, Paul Heyman chose power over loyalty. He chose the tribal chief over the voice of the voiceless. He chose to stab CM Punk in the back rather than risk losing his position of influence in the most dominant faction in WWE history. The timeline of deception. Now, let me take you through the timeline of this elaborate scheme because when you see how the pieces fit together, you're going to be absolutely sick to your stomach. It all started when CM Punk returned to WWE. Paul Heyman was one of the first people to publicly welcome him back. On the surface, this made perfect sense. These two have history. They've made magic together. ECW, WWE, countless promos that are still talked about today. The reunion seemed natural, right? What we didn't know at the time was that Paul Heyman was already feeling the pressure from Roman Reigns and the Bloodline. Sources close to the situation told us that Roman was not happy about Heyman's enthusiasm for Punk's return. The tribal chief saw it as a betrayal. He saw it as his special counsel divided loyalties, and in the Bloodline, you're either all in or you're out. According to our sources, Roman gave Heyman an ultimatum: handle the CM Punk situation or there would be consequences. And we all know what happens to people who cross the tribal chief. Just ask Sami Zayn, just ask Jey Uso, just ask anyone who's ever stood in Roman's way. Phase 2, the psychological warfare. But here's where it gets even more sinister. Paul Heyman didn't just want CM Punk taken out physically. Oh no, that would be too simple for a mastermind like Heyman. He wanted to break Punk mentally and emotionally. In the weeks leading up to the attack, Heyman was playing both sides like a fiddle. He was in Punk's ear telling him everything he wanted to hear. You're the best in the world, Phil. This is your time. Together we're going to run this company. All while simultaneously plotting Punk's downfall. The genius, if you can even call it that, of Heyman's plan was that he positioned himself as Punk's protector. He was the one warning Punk about potential enemies. He was the one advising him on who to trust and who to watch out for, all while being the biggest threat right under Punk's nose. This is psychological manipulation at its finest, folks. Heyman made himself indispensable to Punk while secretly orchestrating his destruction. It's like hiring a bodyguard who's actually an assassin. And then came that fateful night, the night that CM Punk was brutally attacked backstage. The details of that attack are chilling. Punk was ambushed in the parking garage after a taping of Monday Night Raw. Multiple assailants wearing masks attacked him with steel chairs and left him laying in a pool of his own blood. The security cameras in that section of the garage mysteriously malfunctioned at the exact moment of the attack. How convenient, right? WWE launched an investigation that went absolutely nowhere. They claimed they were doing everything possible to find the perpetrators, but weeks went by with no answers, months went by with no justice, and CM Punk was left frustrated, angry, and questioning everyone around him. Everyone except Paul Heyman, of course, because Heyman was right there playing the concerned friend. He was at the hospital, he was releasing statements condemning the attack, he was calling for WWE to do more to find the culprits, he even offered a reward for information. Looking back now, knowing what we know, it's absolutely disgusting. Paul Heyman was standing in front of cameras, fake tears in his eyes, demanding justice for CM Punk while knowing that he was the one who ordered the hit. That's not just betrayal, that's sociopathic behavior. But the confession revealed something even more disturbing. According to the leaked information, Paul Heyman didn't act alone in covering this up. He had help from people within WWE's executive structure. Now, I'm not saying that Triple H or Stephanie McMahon or anyone at that level knew about this beforehand, but Heyman allegedly used his decades of connections and influence within the company to make sure certain evidence disappeared. Phone records were deleted, security footage was corrupted beyond recovery, witnesses were paid to keep quiet. This wasn't just a betrayal, this was a conspiracy. And the most infuriating part, CM Punk spent months trying to figure out who attacked him. He was paranoid, he was looking over his shoulder constantly, he was suspecting everyone from Drew McIntyre to Seth Rollins to people he'd never even had beef with beforehand. All while Paul Heyman, the snake in the grass, was right there beside him, consoling him, advising him, laughing at him behind closed doors. The motivation. Why did Heyman do it? Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Why would Paul Heyman do this? What did he have to gain? Let me break it down for you because the motivation behind this betrayal is actually scarier than the betrayal itself. The Roman Reigns factor. First and foremost, this was about survival in the bloodline. Roman Reigns has built an empire over the last few years. He's the undisputed WWE Universal Champion. He's the tribal chief. He's the head of the table. And Paul Heyman positioned himself as the most important non-wrestler in that entire operation. But here's the thing about empires. They require absolute loyalty. There's no room for divided attention. There's no room for Heyman to be grooming CM Punk on the side while serving Roman Reigns. When Punk returned, Roman saw it as a threat. Not just a threat to his position at the top of WWE, but a threat to his hold over Paul Heyman. And Roman made it crystal clear that Heyman needed to choose. So Heyman did what Heyman always does. He chose power. He chose to stay in the good graces of the most dominant champion in WWE history rather than honor his friendship with CM Punk. Because in Paul Heyman's twisted mind, loyalty is a transaction. It's not about friendship or history. It's about who can give him the most influence and the biggest platform. But there's another layer to this that makes it even more calculated. According to sources familiar with Heyman's thinking, he saw CM Punk as a threat to his own legacy. Think about it. CM Punk is might the greatest talkers in wrestling history. His promos are legendary. His ability to captivate an audience is unmatched. And where does that leave Paul Heyman? For years, Heyman has been known as the advocate, the special counsel, the greatest talker in the business. But with CM Punk back in WWE, cutting promos and reminding everyone why he's the voice of the voiceless, Heyman's position as the top mouth in the company was under threat. This wasn't just about Roman Reigns. This was about ego. This was about Paul Heyman refusing to share the spotlight with someone who could potentially outshine him on the microphone. And let's not forget the most important motivator of all, money. Paul Heyman's contract with WWE is reportedly one of the most lucrative for any non-wrestler in the company. His association with Roman Reigns and the Bloodline has made him millions. He's on every major pay-per-view. He's featured prominently on television. He's a key part of the most successful storyline in modern WWE history. But with CM Punk in the picture, that dynamic changes. Punk doesn't need a manager. Punk doesn't need a mouthpiece. Punk is perfectly capable of getting himself over without Paul Heyman holding his hand. So what happens to Heyman's position if Punk becomes the top star in WWE? What happens to his leverage when contract negotiations come around? What happens to his bank account when he's not as essential to the product anymore? Paul Heyman chose his wallet over his ethics. He chose financial security over doing the right thing, and that is absolutely reprehensible. The fallout, what happens now? So now that this confession has leaked, what happens next? Where do we go from here? Because wrestling fans, this story is far from over. CM Punk's response. First and foremost, we need to talk about CM Punk's reaction to all of this. According to sources close to Punk, he is furious. And can you blame him? This is a man who trusted Paul Heyman. This is a man who considered Heyman to be one of his closest friends in the wrestling business. This is a man who vouched for Heyman where other people warned him to be careful. And he was stabbed in the back in the most vicious way possible. Our sources tell us that CM Punk is already talking to his lawyers about potential legal action against both Paul Heyman and WWE for their role in the cover-up. We're talking about possible assault charges, conspiracy charges, and a civil lawsuit that could cost millions. But beyond the legal ramifications, there's the in-ring ramifications. Because you know CM Punk is going to want revenge. And when CM Punk wants revenge, he doesn't just want to win a match. He wants to destroy the person who wronged him. He wants to end careers.
we could be looking at the most personal, most brutal feud in WWE history. Forget Hell in a Cell, forget Last Man Standing. I'm talking about the kind of match where careers are legitimately on the line, the kind of match where someone's reputation gets buried forever. Roman Reigns' involvement. Now, the leaked confession didn't explicitly state whether Roman Reigns knew about Heyman's plan beforehand, but come on, are we really supposed to believe that the tribal chief had no idea what his special counsel was up to? Roman Reigns is presented as this calculating, strategic, chess-playing mastermind on television. Are we supposed to believe that in real life he's just clueless about what's happening in his own faction? I don't buy it for a second. Even if Roman didn't explicitly order the attack himself, he created the environment where Paul Heyman felt like he had to do something about CM Punk. Roman created the ultimatum. Roman created the pressure. Roman created the problem. So Roman Reigns has blood on his hands too, and CM Punk knows it, which means we might be looking at a situation where Punk is coming after the entire bloodline, not just Paul Heyman, but Roman, Solo Sikoa, and anyone else who stands in his way. Can you imagine the magnitude of that conflict? CM Punk versus the bloodline in an all-out war. The ratings would be through the roof. WWE's corporate response. And then there's WWE's response to all of this. Because make no mistake, this is a public relations nightmare for the company. They've spent months telling us they were investigating the attack on CM Punk. They've spent months saying they were doing everything possible to find the perpetrators. And now it comes out